Today we're going to look at 10 ground covers that I'm using here on my lot, including some edible ones. I'll show you those cardboard applications that I've been doing selectively on my site, how those have been working out and where I've been doing them. In general, we'll do a nice walkthrough so you can see how things have been shaping up on my site here in Zone 6, Western PA, at the latter part of May. Here we are at the corner of my lot, and what I want to do is just show you like my outer perimeter first. You may remember this edge along here on my video about landscape fabric and using sheet mulching with cardboard. This was very badly overgrown with weeds, but now look at what I've been able to do. Laying down some cardboard, putting mulch on top, suppressing the initial weeds, and then after that it was easy to maintain. And so I'm trying to fill this in with some ground covers. I'll talk more about this ground cover in a little bit. I try to have as many herbal things, edible things. These are fruiting, berry type of things that we have here on this edge. This is very densely planted, so there's really no room in this spot for any significant weeds to come in. And as we come along this edge here, this is that walkway where people have their dogs, trying to take them out. I want to keep them away from my edibles, like these black currants. And so I built this nice little ornamental edging, this fence here to keep the dogs from trying to pee all over my berries, right? And I've used a ground cover here, which I'll be talking about, to make everything fill in quickly and keep out those weeds as well as I can. Yeah, there'll be some little stragglers in between some of these open spots, but as that fills in, there's more and more competition and less room for anything to really take hold. We have more ground cover here in this bed, and you can see this opens up to my inner yard here, where we have a mixture of some ornamentals, but mostly all of our edibles, perennial things and annual things. Every year these berries, the blueberries here, like these perennials get bigger and bigger, and it gets more and more exciting seeing everything really fill in. You can see some of the infrastructure I have here for my annuals, but behind there I have a backdrop with, peaches, apricots, even these little spots in here in between these structures. Everywhere that I can, I try to fit anything that I can. From place to place, you see these different ground covers that are being used with different measures of success, and we're going to go over all of those. But I just want you to see how I've kind of organized and laid out everything first. We have this walkway here. There's these little crevices where weeds would always get, but it's not really happening anymore because of this ground cover that I'm using. Same kind of thing here. By intentionally allowing something to grow, you can fill in those cracks, and it just makes it really hard for anything to take hold. Here's my espalier pear. We've got a bed here. Here's some plums. Everything's been just coming to life, looking really well. What I found to be successful in keeping down weeds is to just come out regularly, come out often. It doesn't have to be a lot of time, but just a regular, everyday thing for a little bit of time. Stay on top of stuff. What we actually have here is a brick patio, and in between every single brick, it was just full of grasses and weeds, and I mean really tall, completely overrun. It was horrible. I went with this pea gravel, and to lay down and prepare the surface for the pea gravel, I didn't use cardboard and then putting pea gravel on that. The cardboard breaks down, the pea gravel doesn't. So what I did, I laid down plastic. So I have 6 mil plastic. I put that right over top of the bricks. and then I poured my gravel on top of that. That 6 mil plastic doesn't break down. Similar with landscape fabric, it doesn't break down, and the surface, the mulching material that you're putting on top doesn't break down. Neither of those are biodegradable, so a plastic or landscape fabric goes well with things like rocks, stones, gravels, even like rubber mulches. This has been like a very maintenance-free open area. And when did I do this? I did this in 2011, 2012. And so it's held up very much like this for all that time. Well, that's how things are looking here. So now let's start talking about those ground covers. Let's get into this list. Number 1, Creeping Thyme. I've shown this on my videos before. It's evergreen, it stands up pretty well to some foot traffic, but it does have limitations though. I've found it to be very shade intolerant, so if there are plants that are really blocking out a lot of the sun, expect to see some dieback as a result. And in general, it seems to be prone to some center dieback, so it pushes new growth outward from the center of the plant, and then in the middle where the growth initially started, it tends to be woody and you don't see those nice full leaves. That growth seems to cycle through, and overall, from season to season, it does pretty well. Number 2 is Elfin Thyme, very much like the Creeping Thyme. All the same pros and cons, I would say. The difference is Elfin Thyme seems to be just a little bit slower to grow. The branches don't reach out quite as far, so it's tighter, it's lower to the ground, and those leaves are even smaller than the regular Creeping Thyme. Number 3, Irish Moss. Irish Moss holds up pretty well to foot traffic. It's really great edging along different areas, but it does like it to be moist, so keep that in mind that it is drought intolerant. And I found that it can be hard to weed. If you get like little weeds growing in between it, it can be a little bit tricky to pull those out. It is self-seeding though, so it can eventually start to fill in an area pretty nicely. In fact, I've even had areas that it's begun to colonize, areas that I never even put it in, and it just has shown up. It's done well there, and so I've decided to keep it there. Number 4, strawberries. Yes, an edible ground cover. Normally we might think of this as something that we cultivate very vigorously, giving it full sun, spacing the plants perfectly, and yeah, that's going to give you your best harvest of strawberries. But you know, you can squeeze these into all types of spaces, like under these plums, a complete carpet of strawberries. They're pretty fast spreading, and you've got something that's edible there, filling in that space. You even do have some ornamental options out there, strawberries for example that have pink petals on them. Now, if you're going to put in a strawberry patch, it is going to take a little bit of maintenance, more so than these other types of plants that we're talking about, but I do think it's worth considering as a very good option. Number 5, probably my most prevalent ground cover on my lot that you've seen in many spots as we've gone through, Sedum Stonecrop. This likes moist or dry, sun or shade. It does very well in rocky soils, in crevices, and it's excellent in edging. Now, it's not that great for walking on, but if you put it around stones, around pathways, so that you're not constantly stepping on it, I think it does very nicely. And it is very good at choking out weeds in those cracks, like cracks in pavement. Once that takes over, nothing else seems to be able to fill in. And so I'm very happy with how it's worked out. Number 6, Sweet Woodruff. I only put this in last year, but I found it to fill in the area very nicely. It likes it to be reasonably moist. It can do shade or sun. It's rhizomatic, so it has underground stems that are pretty fast to colonize an area. In fact, it may even be a bit invasive, so you want to keep that in mind, that you don't want to put it into an area where you won't be able to easily control it. I like the fact that it is herbal and it's also deer resistant, so that can be a nice plus if you want to have it on an outer perimeter where maybe deer might be likely to try to browse. Alright, let's do a few more edibles. Number 7, Lingonberries. They spread through rhizomes. Mine have been very slow spreading, but they've been happy underneath my blueberries. It's nice because they're evergreen and they're edible. Also, Kinnikinnick, Bearberry. These are evergreen, they're edible. The growth tends to be very long and lanky, and the branches aren't very quick to root. So I've been able to get them to root by manually layering them, where I've buried the stems underground and then they've generated some roots, but the plant doesn't seem to want to do it on its own. Next up, number 9, Arctic raspberries or Nagoonberries. These spread through rhizomes and they make an edible small raspberry. It's amazing because they're very, very low growing, only a few inches tall, and I'm just trying them out in this one spot, but it seems like they're doing well so far. Okay, now for the last plant I want to talk about, number 10. I haven't even actually used it on my lot yet. I'm still getting it ready. Brass buttons, Leptinella. It likes it to be moist, it can do shade or sun, and it spreads through a rhizomatic process with those underground stems. This can be a tip to help you out. You can start out by just buying one plant. I put it in a larger shallow container, let it fill that in, then I divided the plant and put it into these additional containers. Now I have multiple plants over the course of a year. They've proliferated and I've been able to see how they grow under different moisture conditions, light levels, how they withstand the cold winters, and I found that this plant has passed my initial tests, so I am going to be wanting to integrate it into my landscape. I already have a nice offering of multiple plants that I can put in to really get an area established quickly. An additional tip that I want to share is definitely try multiple types of plants. Don't just see one and think that's the one you want for your entire property. You've got a lot of things that you may have going on, fluctuations in temperature and light and moisture. A great reference that I've loved is steppables.com. If you head over to that website, Steppables shows some nice photos and it shows all the different characteristics, the strengths and the weaknesses of so many of these plants that we're talking about, and of course many, many more than what I've shown you here today. Alright guys, so that should do it for today. These are just 10 creeping perennials or ground covers that I'm using on my property, but there are so many options out there. In the comments below, share the ones that are your favorite and why you like them. I appreciate all of your support on my channel. Thanks for taking time to watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, happy gardening.